I knew that was coming.
You're the closest one. She's already went down because I'm running from her.
Are we good? Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and have a moment of silence, please. If you would, we'll stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kim Harrison Edwards.
Here.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Here.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
President.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump. Councilman Herb Curtis. City Manager Nate Stansberry.
Present.
City Attorney Brian Bailey.
Here.
Finance Director Susie Johnston.
Here.
Chief Josh Thomas. Pat-
Okay, I got him next.
Patrolman
It is.
First Class Mike Posey.
Here.
Chief Jimmy Settle. Street Commissioner Mike Starrett.
Here.
Building Code Zoning Enforcement Officer Andy Darby.
Here.
Sanitary Board Director Dee Evans.
Okay, you have in your packet the minutes from the regular and two special sessions dated March 7th, March 17th, and March 24th, if you want to take a few minutes to look those over.
Judy, thank you for sending my packet.
Thank you.
I wasn't feeling well. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I read it this weekend. I'm good to go.
I thought you needed something.
I know. I hate to have to sit here and read through it. When people are waiting, it just cuts down on the meeting time. So I'm good to go.
I move that we accept the approval of the minutes as presented
For
for
regular,
regular and special sessions.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to accept the minutes of the regular session and two special sessions for the month of March. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Judy, for the minutes.
Next, we move on to the visitors section, and we have one person signed in to speak. John Williams, would you like to approach the podium? And you'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Council, from my presentation back in February, I given references. Okay, I'll keep it down. I've given 8 references to the council to look up and check out all the information I presented then. So my first issue is, what did everybody learn? Anything?
We learn it.
Well, from the references I provided back in February. So did anybody review those things or look at them?
Reviewed your presentation.
Well, okay, yeah, and the references provide the background for that, so. Well, what I'm here to talk to the council about is the depopulation of the place called Weston. What do I mean? Well, from the February meeting, I already been over the fact that the group calling itself the City of Weston is operating as a private corporation due to the financial thing and their registration with the DUNS system under a number. And that's all in that presentation that's available through some references. If members of the public want to see the references, I brought extra copies, so I would have to give you one if you want. So, and that's all ruling under the Supreme Court under called the Clearfield Doctrine. So we've been through that before, and the mayor has indicated they looked at the presentation. So that information is public; it's available to anybody. So this corporation has taken actions historically and in the current time to depopulate the area known as Weston. What do I mean? Well, in 1950, I wasn't here. I wasn't even born yet. But in 1950, the population stood around 19,000 people. And I'd heard this when I came here that, oh, we had a bunch of people here before, but now not so many, not so many. In 2020, that population stands at around 3,300. And when I've talked to people that live here about that situation, they've all asked the question, well, what do we need a city government for? There aren't enough people here. And there aren't enough people to support it with property taxes and other taxes and things of that nature. So it's a really good question. But if the state hadn't given the city corporation, and the state's another corporation, if they hadn't given the city corporation the 1% sales tax, they probably wouldn't even be here right now due to that fact. Now, of course, the people seated here are not responsible for all of that, although many of them may have been here during that time. I don't know. But that population trend, according to the World Population Review, the current annual rate of depopulation is about 1.09% per year. Well, if you just run the numbers out, that means we're going to vanish in how many years in the future? Not too many, according to that trend. So that's a concern. But I want to point out that in this period, the city corporation has used parking regulations, taxation of residences for services, and a bunch of other things, building permits, and more recently, zoning regulations, property management claims, and COVID-19. All of which discourage business locations in Weston, which suppresses the employment of residents and encourages migration away from the area. Anybody that's been here for more than a few years has seen all these things happen. So thus, the city, county, state, and federal incorporation has depopulated the city at the annual rate of minus 1.09% from 1950 through the current time. However, I want to congratulate the city corporation. They have succeeded in completing United Nations Agenda 21, which was dated to 2021. This agenda specifically references the depopulation of rural areas to form what are called wildlands. I would say that the data that we have before us shows that agenda has been operating for more than a few years. And it has succeeded, and has succeeded not only in Weston, it has succeeded in the county, which has lost population continuously through the same time period, in the state, which has fluctuated up and down depending on where you go in the state, but has now declined further. And so all these corporations seem to be working together, it would seem, to do one thing: depopulate the place that everyone I know that lives here says, hey, this is a nice place to live. I like living here. The state's a nice place, yes. So why is it being depopulated? That's a question everybody should ask. There's plenty of references on these things, and anyone's interested in these topics, if they'll just contact me, and I brought some copies tonight to give you to look into on your own. And I would urge the members of council to look into these things as well, because those trend lines are not very promising. And in fact,
How would you suppose a corporation should operate?
well,
We're talking about regulations, which generates revenue, but then makes the world go round. I mean, we can't go round and round off the hubs.
well, I would suggest that you take a look at the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report 1's website, which I pointed there. Mr. Burrian, that first started that back before 2000, he actually has addressed that very specific issue regarding, he took the current budgets of the federal government and the counties, the states, the cities. He took those budgets and he looked at answering that question. What would we otherwise do? And it's a very good question. I have my own ideas. I'm sure other people do too. And it would, a public operation would take that type of input. So that's why I don't like answering too specifically. But Mr. Burrian did do the legwork at looking at the money side of the issue, because that's his specialty. And he came up with an estimate. And I'll just quote him roughly. Again, he has a whole website. You can look at the details there. That using only 10% of the current year's budget, and I think he was looking at it like 2005, 2006, sometime in that time period. When he looked at those years, he found that only 10% of that money, if it were invested as he suggested as a financial expert in various public and private enterprises, sort of the same scenario that goes on at corporate level now today, that you could perform all of the so-called public services at the time using only 10% of that year's current budgets. In other words, a very small fraction of what was being spent is actually going to services and things. If you've ever looked into governmental corruption, things of that nature, you will find that a lot of the money goes missing routinely. And I'll just point out the latest one that was done in 2010,
Mr. Williams,
came up
we're
with-
at your
Yeah,
time.
I tried to answer. You got me. And again, I have lots of information. So when they ask questions, I get into it more. But there are ways around the current system. Yes. And so people have now asked me, since it's my second meeting with this group, well, gee, what do you want to suggest? What do you suggest we do? And I said, well, step number one is to get out of the incorporation. This is something that started in 1871 in the United States. And everything that's happened since then is a result of it. And so disincorporating these bodies and turning them back to the public, that would be step one. And I trust the public, believe me, I worked in the city for a while. I've worked with the public enough in different venues to realize that what is out there is not what appears to be there. And that is, most people view the public as relatively poorly educated, relatively unknowledgeable, not knowledgeable about things. When I've ventured into the sea of the public, I was surprised myself at first because I'd been educated and indoctrinated into the collegiate system, where the brightest rise to the top. And in that system, when I go out into the public with questions that I didn't think they had answers to, I've been shocked numbers of times by finding out that if I take 20 people just drawn randomly from the public, at least one of those people is going to have more expertise than I do in one of those things we're talking about. That's what I
I
found.
appreciate that, Mr. Williams.
so-
We've generously allowed you to go 4 minutes over.
Well, gee, I appreciate your management of time for me.
Thank you very
And thanks
much.
for your patience. And
Sure.
really, I would suggest you look at some of those references. I'm trying to be friendly about this, but I would just remind that there are members of the public that aren't nearly as friendly as I am. Thank you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. Did you need me?
Okay, that's.
I thought he was engaging me. but I
Oh,
wasn't.
okay. I'm sorry. Next, under reports, the cemetery board meeting will meet Monday, May the 9th at 9 a.m. Historic Landmarks meets on April the 14th at 5 p.m. We do have an application for the Historic Landmarks Commission for your review and approval from Chris Tenney. And we also have an application from Mr. Robert Weaver for the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Mayor Harrison, I received a call today from a member of the HLC, and I think in past, they've taken the opportunity to review applicants and make a recommendation to council that you can either listen to or, make your own determination. They recognize that, but they wanted to request tonight that you table both applicants and allow them to review their credentials and
They actually discussed Mr. Tenney at the last meeting.
They did.
okay. And I think I also discussed with them, I think he's a Department of Highways employee. And I think they have to have some kind of letter from higher up to allow them to serve on city boards and commissions. We didn't receive that. We wanted to follow up with them before we appoint them as
All right.
well.
I'll entertain a motion to table both applications.
I move to table both applications.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to table both applications for the HLC. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
No.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Weston Planning Commission, their next meeting is Wednesday, May 11th at 4:30 PM. Parks and Rec will be meeting Friday, April the 15th at 2 PM. The EDA meeting will be April the 27th at 5 PM here at the courthouse. Board of Zoning Appeals, Tuesday, April the 12th at 6. Code Appeals Board, Thursday, April 21st at 6. And Neighborhood Watch, next meeting, May the 4th at 6 here at the courthouse. And we still have a vacancy on the Board of Zoning Appeals, one available position plus an alternate. And next, we're ready for the Sanitary Board report.
Good evening. You'll have our report. A couple of things probably of biggest interest is we did have the bid opening for phase 1, and we'll be awarding those projects. One is the sludge removal and the blower down at the treatment plant, and both of those should go to Michaels Incorporated for the blower and Sinegro for the actual sludge removal, the initial sludge removal down there. We'll be awarding those at our meeting next Monday evening. We met this evening as a board, or as a selection committee actually, and part of the board members for phase 2. We went through a couple of evenings, long evenings of interviews last week and interviewed 6 different engineering firms. And the selection committee made their determination this evening, and we'll formally, I guess, select them. We've actually done that. I guess we'll be actually going to meet with them and do the engineering agreement, but we have selected an engineering firm, which is Potesta, to do phase 2 of the engineering, or the sludge removal engineering part of that. So they have started work immediately, and we'll be getting applications in and meet the deadline hopefully by April 10th. And
For the
also
congressional year.
for the congressional earmark, and also for a couple of other grants that they're working on. Those should be finished up this week or the very early next week for a couple of the others that they had mentioned as well. Down at the plant, Brock did have a 2-day inspection with DEP. We won't get the results back from them for probably another month, maybe 45 days, but everything seemed to have gone smooth. Nothing really stuck out in particular that they were real concerned about. He's done the normal cleanings and calibrations and safety trainings and all the normal programs that are going on down there, getting ready for the mowing season. His collections, several missed utility markouts this time, a lot of jet calls for basements that are full of sewage, and trying to convince people to get those drains out of the basements and also get clean outs put in for them that don't have those in. Marking lines for the Department of Highways and working some with the street department on those. I think working with Nate a little bit on those. Had a few issues with Station 5. We're still trying to redo some of that with the valves. That is a station we're gonna eventually have to redo probably completely, and that'll be in one of the projects that'll come up sooner than later, and we can incorporate it with that project. Jet calls were up this month. They were at 30. 10 of those were our mains and 20 of them were the customer laterals. As far as me in the office, a lot of the time was devoted to getting those 2 projects awarded, and discussions with Region 7 and the different engineering groups and the board, taking care of those issues. Also working with the accountant on the budget And considering moving our business office to another location because there's some issues that we're having with it there. So we're doing some talks with that. Other than that, everything's kind of business as usual there in the office as well. Be happy to answer any questions you all might have. Otherwise, our meeting is next Monday at 4:30 at the office on Main Street.
Questions for Dee?
What? Nothing from her?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next finance.
Been very busy, learning my new position and trying to do it and keep my municipal fees, also going. As of today, we brought in over 300,000 for the municipal fees. And we just got the reports in, for the March. If you have any questions about them, you can look them over later. And Nate said that there'll be another meeting soon, so we can answer any questions for the March ones. But if you have any questions or anything, just let me know.
Once again, I really don't have a problem with presenting the previous month. I know it has to be so much easier.
Yeah, yeah.
You have the February data in your packet again, which we
Yeah,
talked about
right.
last meeting. So
Right.
it's there for your reference again.
Yeah.
I think we ran it again. So that some of the stuff, when our settle and stocker are working through our books and things like that, they do some reconciliations. And so some things were updated in that most likely, but nothing too major. With the, I guess since we're on finance, we'll talk about it. Just a reminder, this third Tuesday, we've got to have our set the levy meeting. Third Tuesday in April. Sorry, not this Thursday, third Tuesday, but the third Tuesday in April.
The
we have
19th.
The 19th, correct. We have that. And typically, I think last year we just met and set the levy and moved on for lives,
Sure.
which is great. This year, I think we'll talk about the budget as well at that meeting, maybe after we set the levy, and hopefully I'll at least present a budget revision to you all, because I think we're owed one. And we'll just have a budget kind of, for lack of a better word, work session that night to discuss those kinds of things. Should be quick. It won't be as quick as setting levy and going home, but and if anything else pops up in the next couple of weeks, we'll try to attack it at that meeting as well. If you
So
all are
this-
okay with that.
This budget revision will be for year.
The current year,
Okay.
FY 22,
Okay.
correct. The one we're operating out of. Yeah, with the movements we've had, with our tear down of the homes,
Sure.
being more than anticipated. We've got some things in there we need to get cleaned up, no doubt about it. So
Okay.
we'll try to have that for you at that meeting there.
And then setting the levy would be for a year.
Yeah, FY 23.
Right.
Correct. And Judy submitted that to the state auditors after we had our meeting there. And so I think we're all set.
Thank you.
We're set to advertise in the Democrat. We have to run that 2 times in the paper. That'll happen these next two runs. She's proofed the ad and everything while I was gone. So I really appreciated that. So I think we're all set from a budget standpoint. We knock on wood, we've hit the ground running this year.
Susie, what percentage of collections does that 300,000 represent? And what's the percentage you brought in?
Just for municipal fees or
Yeah.
100%, over 100%?
Oh, yeah. 'Cause-
Over?
Yeah.
Okay.
My goal was the 282, and I think we're like 308 something. And we got 1,000 in Friday. Pardon me? You're what? You're hoping for 310?
Yeah.
I'll get you 310.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on to street department? Sure. Okay. You have the report in your packet if you have any questions.
Just let you all know that we have started the hot patching we have, and it wasn't on here, we have all of Haleville done. And all over in McGarry, we've got 2 streets yet to go. There's not that much on McGarry and Harrison. There's a few patches there, and we started up on Sherry's Ward up above High Street and all that. We started that today. We will be patching tomorrow. And also the drain that's over in the Haleville should be tomorrow. It should be all finished. That's where it was, over in the Haleville area where it was flooding there.
Is that Walnut? Up on Walnut?
Yes, yes, it was Walnut, yes. And that one's been a little tough because it's in between 2 houses and there's just barely enough room to get a piece of equipment in there if you can get it in there, but it's been a lot of handwork. I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot of handwork. If you guys have got any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
The Mulberry Alley.
Mulberry Alley. Mulberry.
That's Brownies.
That's Brownies, and we went clear all the way down to down where Jack Rummel lives, down in there, clear to the end of that. Used to be the city lot down there. We went clear to there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we also took care of, Randy, we took care of that out there, the alley on Neighbors, clear all the way through.
Well, I won't have to say anything in my Ward 2 presentation because I was going to tell you all how good that alley looked.
Thank you.
So there's,
you.
you just skip on by me when you present it.
We'll remember that.
I got pictures of it. It looks like a highway. Work done the way it should be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Street Department.
And I'd like to say this, you know, I'm over there and running the place, but I want to give all my workers the credit. They're doing a fantastic job now. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Make sure you thank them for us, please.
Definitely.
We don't get a chance to see them.
What's that?
I said, make sure you tell them thank you. We do not get a chance to see them.
I will, because way I do it with this, when our council meeting is, they ask me the next morning what went on, and I express everything to them and tell them what went on.
Any other questions for Mike?
Thank you for patching, starting to patch early. I like the sound of that.
We're probably about, you're welcome, Herb. We're about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time on that, but it's just the weather. Thank you all.
Did you have a question?
I just wanted to thank the tree department as well for the tree.
About the one that was over on Center Street?
Yeah.
Yes. That one was on a city right away, and when we took it down with the bucket truck, and it was all rotted inside. I'm surprised we didn't lose it tonight. We lost that one tree, Herb.
Yeah, that was a long power deal where they was getting the limbs out of the power lines and they left 2 big heavy ones hanging right over the road just one side.
Left us half a tree or something like that.
Well, 2 limbs, 2 pretty good sized limbs.
Okay, next, police department.
Has nothing to present other than monthly activity log, which should be attached.
Any questions?
We're good. Guys have been busy. Yeah, we appreciate you.
The citizens in Randy's ward want to thank you for the extra patrol out there on Broad Street. They said that it has cut down on the speeding. They're still having a problem with one person who's not obeying the speed limit, but it's gotten much better. Okay, fire department.
I think Jimmy's wrapping up the EMT class. I'll just add, I think he's probably got a report in there that they've stayed really busy. We did bring in our new fire employee. We had one resign at the early part of the month, and we've interviewed and hired a replacement. We started mid, I think early to mid last week. And so Lucas Skidmore. So we're happy to have him on board. He seems like he's been a volunteer for quite some time with the fire department. So we're excited to be able to bring somebody from within and bring him up through the ranks. He's attended many junior camps and stuff over the years. So it looks to be a good find.
And their fire department, the 4th of July festivities meeting, I think is Wednesday, the 6th at 6 PM at the fire department.
Correct.
And also the fire association meets on the 18th.
We had that, it's posted on social media. Thank you, Kim, for putting that on there also, or whoever did. I sent out an email. I hope I got everyone. I ask everyone to forward it if possible. If you have any more suggestions as to how to get the word out, you're most welcome.
Okay.
I'll try to be there, but I'm having a tooth extraction at 3 PM. So I'll see where I'm at.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
I will say that follow up there with Councilwoman Rogers, when we were first asked to go to that first meeting, Councilwoman Rogers and I, it was just putting some ideas out there. And now that, hopefully it's going to take off and we get a lot more input from the community. So hopefully everybody can make it.
Next, building code zoning report.
Got nothing else. Nothing else to add than what's in the report. Stayed pretty busy throughout the month. Helped early in the month. We mapping the storm drains and stuff over in Hillville area, and then worked on getting the Columbia Club started tearing down and quotes and stuff for 218 Court, and then worked with the contractors up at Arnold Cemetery, and they finally got half of those trees cut down. We still got another contractor to come in, finish his work, but any questions?
There's just nothing been done up there for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Yep. I appreciate you.
Are all the trees, have they all been taken down at the Arnold Cemetery that you're going to do? I noticed a pink flag on one on the drive going up.
Yeah, the two with the pink flag still there. They'll be still taken down. So we got two different contractors taking those out, and the one that's supposed to do those two trees was waiting until the other guy got out of the way, so they didn't cost too much. Getting a traffic jam up there, working around each other.
It
So,
really looks good what's been done.
yeah, and then they're still should by the end of this week, the rest of the lumber or the logs that are laying up there will be taken out. So
I do want to say that and pass along that I had seen a post on Facebook where someone commented that they had never seen the cemetery look better. Kudos to
Good.
the street department, to you, Andrew, and to our volunteers as well. With everyone pulling together, things are happening. Appreciate it. Hey, why is High Street closed?
High Street.
Is High Street closed?
Shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's just got a sign on it that says rough road and work area.
Work
So,
area. I saw the
yeah,
work area. Okay.
tomorrow,
Okay.
sometime tomorrow it should be open. Well, it is open.
Okay.
We're patching, right?
Yeah.
Is that why? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
City attorney.
Well, as usual, most of my stuff is intertwined with all this that's been talked about. Specifically, though, this American legal stuff, I don't know if we can shoehorn 15 minutes into the next, whatever this April 19th meeting is, shoehorn 15 minutes in. I think I'm going to be done looking it all over and ready to send it back into him. I just need to explain a couple constitutional issues that have become outdated since 1972. Otherwise, I think we're ready to go with that one. So that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
I hope that doesn't mean your law that you might have left in there.
City clerk.
And specifically, it deals with, without getting too law nerdy, the content of parades and what you can and can't put on signs and stuff like that. Stuff has changed since 1930 when these laws were passed.
I know this is totally off record, but it reminds me, I heard on the news about the new sign regulations for the limited video lottery establishments. And I wondered if that's something that we needed to take a look at our zoning ordinance to make sure that we're in compliance with the new law that passed.
You got a law number for that or?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Figure it out. Was it a state? It was a state.
Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have the business licenses, the report from March from the city clerk. It's a healthy list. Thank
It
you,
is, Judy, yeah.
And city manager report.
My report is not in the packet. I think I got on the plane and got out of town before I even got anything accomplished or finished for that. So I apologize. In the last month, we've worked on the budget. As you all are aware, it's took up most of my time. Payrolls and pensions continue to be something that I spend quite a bit of effort to maintain all those records and make sure things are properly inputted. And when I say payroll, I mean insurance premiums and all that stuff as well that goes with maintaining our staff. We attended open enrollment training with PEIA this past month. The finance director and the city clerk and myself in Flatwoods. And so from that, I'll jump into what we're going to do in the coming month. We're going to have an employee forum, which I think you've all been invited to. And don't feel a pressure that you have to be there. It's more of a informative thing. If you guys would like to attend, you're more than willing to, but it's going to be geared towards employees. Some of the things that we're trying to get Empower Retirement here. It's a retirement program offered through the state, which none of us have really gotten a ton of information from, but it's an option to our employees. So we're going to try to have them present. We'll talk about PEIA options. And I think we had a couple other things we were going to talk about. Online access to the payroll system. Everybody can have a password and get their pay stubs and everything like that online through ADP currently. And that's never been broadcast, for lack of a better word, I don't think, to our employees. So we're going to try to get that, make sure that it's at least offered to them. And then I think we'll probably have an opportunity for employees to give some feedback and ask questions and things of that nature. So that's what's coming up this month in that regard. We talked about the levy meeting, pension compliance review. So we did get a notice last month from the pension review board to have our pension essentially audited. And I'll just be very blunt with you. It's going to be pretty brutal probably when we get our findings. They're going to ask questions of when did you meet and how long did you meet and who did you vote for? And those records are scarce, or we didn't even have the meetings. And they're aware of that down in Charleston. I think we're not the only one in that boat, but we've already had 2 meetings, I think, in the last 3 or 4 months. So we're trying to change our behavior and change our way of operating. So that won't be reflected in this audit, but in the upcoming audits, hopefully that will mean better things for Weston in that realm. I guess the last thing I'll mention is that we did have a meeting with the Department of Highways about the paving project out there. I think Dee mentioned a little bit and Mike's mentioned some. And that's going to be a big paving project for the city. They're performing a kind of maintenance, for the public at large. The Department of Highways has hired a contractor to do some base stabilization, and so they're essentially injecting a foam material, and I use foam, the term loosely, some kind of material that's going to go into underneath the bricks that populate the sub base of the road and help stabilize those and try to cut down on ruts and potholes and things of that nature. So those contractors will be out at nighttime for the next month or so. And then they're aiming for the end of April, early May to pave from North River all the way to Gomart on, I guess, West 2nd through Center there. And then from Center down from First Street, approximately down to that intersection of Gomart. I think actually they're going to CVS too, aren't they? Almost all the way at CVS intersection. There's a seam there. Yep, there's a seam there. So that's going to be happening. We've tried to, I think, provide some support utility wise there. We're also going to try to install some conduit across to the courthouse there so that when that sidewalk gets replaced, we can run some electrical things there to add decorative lights at a future date. So that's going to be a big project for us, something we haven't really done before, or at least in recent memory. We're going to try to do that all in house for the most part. We'll probably coordinate with the electrician a little bit for a service relocation, but that's approximately what we've done this month. There's more, I'm sure, but I think that kind of points to the variance of the activities that we perform in the city building every month. You guys, we had multiple meetings last month. We've kept you abreast, and so I just give a lot of kudos to the staff. As you're all well aware, I took a vacation last week. I answered a few emails just to kind of keep things moving as it popped in, but for the most part, our staff ran the city without my assistance. And that made me feel really good as a manager. I think we've got a quality team that we've put together and people we can trust. And that speaks to their performance and to hopefully to the citizens' concern of receiving services. And I think we're moving in the right direction. I appreciate all of them. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
About the paving.
Yeah.
Okay, so the state is doing this?
Correct.
What are we doing?
We're just kind of providing some support. We've got some sidewalks that we're going to try to get replaced beforehand, working with private entities. There's a piece of curb I know down there by Gomart that I want to see us get replaced beforehand. Our works, we thought we would have a lot to do with the utilities. I think we're kind of finding out that we're probably in a pretty decent space there. I've got some concerns about the sewer department, but I think they've got it all figured out. And really it's nothing that they can control. They're going to put a vibratory roller on that street when they get done paving it, and it's going to shake that tile loose like it always does and every paving project across America. So we had a camera company come in while I was gone in Florida, and so they gave us just a demo of one of our storm sewers. And before any paving project, I'd recommend we camera the sewers and camera our drains and see what they look like. But sometimes you do that and you say, well, it's going to cost us $1 million to fix all the problems we saw. So it just makes you sleep worse at night. So, but I think sorry. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's exactly right. And there's only so much you can do, but the demo people, I think, are going to try to come back within the next month. And so if they do, we may try to camera those sewer lines and drain lines just for something to look at. It's things of that nature. So, they are also doing a street sweeper demo, I think, at some point with us here in town. So we'll look at that as well. And we've got some equipment. Our curbing machine we had budgeted. I called, the manufacturer was actually in Tampa, so I was going to try to stop by while I was down there, but they're 7-8 months behind, they said, on fulfilling orders. So we're going to change directions and just try to get like a hot box or something like that to kind of keep our patching material warmer. And so we can extend that. So we'll look at that in the next couple of months before the budget clears out for this year. So. Is that helpful, Sherry? I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to change gears on you. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the more information, the better. I just wondered what we were doing with utilities. It seems like every time we pave that the water company comes through and tears it up.
Yeah.
And I know you were trying to
Right.
eliminate that,
Well, and if you talk to the water company, a lot of their lines are ductile iron or old cast iron in the
Right.
city. So again, they're kind of in the same boat the sewer company is. As soon as you start putting a vibratory roller to that, it's going to start shaking their old joints that have been sometimes leaded together or whatever they've smelted together to hold those bells in place. And so you're going to inevitably have that, and it stinks, right?
Yeah.
It stinks, it sucks, but unless you replace everything, that's all. That's
it
the
kind of
realm you
looks
live
to
in.
me like there are markings on the road, and I've seen the water company out where
Mhm.
it appears that everybody's working together.
Yeah. I thought it was a really positive meeting. I will mention one other thing I was going to throw at you guys. I reached out to the traffic engineering division, Department of Highways, because at the courthouse there, I've had a couple complaints in the last couple of months about parking. And we all show up here tonight, right? And you say, well, if there's a big meeting, it's hard to find a parking spot. I thought maybe there was a way we could change the parking setup on the main road. That's a state route. And so I was met with, no, essentially. And I'm going to pursue that a little bit more because I think there's maybe an opportunity there. And so if you guys hear some feedback about it, that's where that's coming from. But I guess I'll take just kind of a straw poll. Is that something that we think it's worth pursuing to try to change I think if if the stars align and the state went along with us, we'd probably have to pass an ordinance to change parking or do something different there. But is that something we feel is helpful to try to get more parking on the, I guess, Center Street or Center Ave?
Are you angling it?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, putting angle parking in there. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
mainly here, this block at the courthouse block. I would think from First probably down to the intersection, we'd look at that. You start looking at angle parking and you start saying, where else can I put this stuff? And I think as we look at Columbia Club and parking there, there's a possibility. The court in front of State Pat's gym, I think, is another. If you got rid of two-way traffic, perhaps you could do angle parking on a one-way fashion of some sort there. So parking is just a big thing. I don't want to open that can of worms today, right?
Sure.
But and it needs a lot more looking at. But it's just a way to try to fit more cars into a smaller space.
Sure.
And it has its advantages and disadvantages. But like I said, I basically was met with, hey, we can't do this by code. So using my legal eagle skills that the city attorney has dispensed upon me, I just started reading the state code. And I think that there's a possibility that we could go to, there's some kind of public works commission through the Department of Highways that we can maybe take our suggestion to and see if they'd go along with it. So I'm going to reach out to District 7 and see if that's a possibility and move forward from there.
I
But
don't think it hurts to try.
I think
don't
we've got to
it does
ask,
either.
and that's
I
all
think
we
it's a
can
good
do.
idea.
So, all right. Getting me in trouble.
I told him never to go to law school.
Any other questions for Nate?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve all of the department reports.
I move to approve department reports.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve all department reports. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to old business, and we have the 2022-7 ordinance updated on-site citations. This would be the second reading. And I'll entertain a motion to have the second reading of that ordinance by title only.
Move to have a second reading, updated on-site citation ordinance by title only.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump,
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Ordinance 2022-07, City of Weston on-site citation ordinance, second reading by title only.
And now I'll entertain a motion to accept or reject the ordinance by title only.
Move to accept the ordinance.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the ordinance. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Rogers,
Yes.
Councilman Bowen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gump,
Yes.
Councilman Curtis.
Motion carries. Next, we have on the agenda 2022-9 amendment to Weston City Code providing for a planning commission. This would be the second reading.
Can you explain to me again what this is? I mean, what the purpose was, what they needed?
Yeah, when I look through whatever you're operating off of on a planning commission ordinance, there were some discrepancies in how you made up the planning commission, whether there was 3 or 10 or 7 or
Right.
15 people or whatever, and various other aspects of the planning commission that didn't adhere to state code. And so this is just an attempt to try to mold it back into the form of what is allowed under state code.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just couldn't remember why we did that. Thanks. Thank you.
So this took all of the changes to make it compliant, I guess, with the state code that were discussed at the planning commission meeting. Okay, is there a motion to have the second reading?
I move to have a second reading, the amendment to Weston City Code providing for a planning commission.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to have the second reading. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Bowen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gump?
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2022-9, amendment to the Weston City Code providing for a planning commission, second reading by title only.
And I'll entertain a motion to accept or reject the 2022-9 amendment to the Weston City Code providing for a planning commission.
Move to accept the 2022-9 amendment to the Weston City Code providing for a planning commission.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Bowen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gump?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to new business, discussion of funds to tear down 218 Port Avenue per West Virginia Code 522-1.
The 522(1)(c) indicates that competitive bidding has to occur if you're doing construction for $25,000, or I'm sorry, over $25,000. And West Virginia Code also authorizes municipalities to contract and be contracted with. And so I guess what's needed is the funds for this tear down are going to be under $25,000. And so in a broad sense, you don't have to competitive bid this project. But in the dichotomy of city council and city manager, you all have to approve payments of $5,000 or more. And so this tear down is going to be more than $5,000. So that's generally what we're going to be doing or discussing right now is how much can we tolerate to tear down this house, I suppose. And we have, I think we went out and Mr. Darby, I think we solicited some bids or talked to some people about tear down prices or whatnot. And there's various prices. They're all in that 12 to 15,000 range.
Right.
Excuse me. And we talked with the Department of Environmental Protection, and I forget the gentleman or the company that's doing the Columbia Club right now. Fresh Coat LLC. The DEP seemed to think we could use Fresh Coat LLC to tear down the Court Avenue house by simply adding on. I'm a little ahead of myself. When you tear down a building, you have to tell the DEP you're tearing them down, as best I understand it. And then they have 10 days, the DEP has 10 days to come in and inspect the house, for lack of a better word, to identify asbestos or whatnot. And if I'm getting something wrong here, Mr. Darby, pound the table, please, and correct me. And so some days ago, we started that 10-day process on the Court Avenue house. And for whatever reason, the 10 days was going to lapse on April the 8th or something, 10 business days. But no, I'm still getting it wrong. DEP authorized the tear down, said, okay, y'all are ready to go tear it down. And then the DEP gives you so many days after that to get something torn down. And that last day for Court Avenue was April 8th, or is going to be April 8th. And so DEP indicated that whoever's doing the Columbia Club, Fresh Coat, if they could get in there and get it down by April the 8th, you wouldn't have to do a new extension of the DEP time to tear a house down. And that's what I think we went or Mr. Darby spoke with the DEP, or not, wasn't the DEP, who was the Mr. Smith or whoever it was, asbestos abatement. And they got that time limit extended out to April 20th. So we're not under any particular gun to get it down by April 8th. So the Fresh Coat, the DEP is expecting Fresh Coat
to, in theory, get it down by April 20th. Now, if you go with somebody else, then the DEP, for whatever DEP's rules are, they have to go do another 10-day notice or 10-day inspection because it's a different contractor, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so that's kind of where we stand right now is Fresh Coat can do it, or we can do 10 more business days if you want somebody else to do it. And that's up to you all.
Where's the quote for Fresh Coat? Am I missing it? Is it the 12.5? Okay.
We're all learning this process together, and I have to say, all of you are doing an excellent job in navigating it.
Yes,
And we really appreciate your email today, Brian.
thank you.
It was a good explanation.
You're welcome.
This is working.
Mr. Kolb, we spoke with Mr. Kolb at the DEP, and he seemed to think, for lack of a better word, gave the blessing. Yeah, you can use Fresh Coat. Well, if you can get the asbestos to move it up to April 20th, that's not going to be a problem on the DEP's end to use Fresh Coat. But with anybody else, we're going to have to wait the extra time. That's what I don't understand. That's the part I don't understand.
Well, and Fresh Coat's there already, and the other bed's the same, right? Yes and no?
They're working on the Columbia Club right now. They've said 2 to 3 weeks. They've been kind of intermittent in their work the last week or so. We're hoping that they fulfill their obligation. This is our first experience with them. So
Right.
I think we've all got a little bit of a hesitancy to go with them and expand their works when they haven't completed what they were supposed to complete already. Right. But I think we're fine to move forward, just like with any other contractor, right? We put it out, and if they meet the qualifications, we award it to them. And I think we move forward with them, and we'll see what happens. And worst comes to worst, they don't show up and perform the works. We'll be right here 10 days later, right? 10 days later. Yep. That's where we'll be. And so I think that we're fine to move forward if you guys are fine with it, with that recommendation to award it to them, and we'll try to get it down as soon as we can. For some reason that doesn't happen, we'll be back here with council and move forward with our next options.
I didn't see here, are they taking care of the tipping fees?
We're going to pay those directly again ourselves, I think. Right?
Is there asbestos here or?
It's been remediated.
So we won't have that huge.
It's already been taken out. Right.
Yeah.
Is that this?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's the Ron Hamrick.
This is it.
Yep.
Yes, right.
This
Yeah.
is it.
Can Ron pull off of that and go to that?
Yeah, and we're trying to extend some flexibility to put the Columbia Club on hiatus if needed be by him to allow them to come down and remedy that situation. Andy didn't mention, I think, that the trees have came down this afternoon, right?
Oh, wow.
So
Thank you.
that did happen today. So I think we're clearing the runway to be able to get this house down.
Fill dirt where we have to fill it.
I think we said we'd take care of that, didn't we? Just to try to
It
cut
says
the
right
cost
here.
down.
City of Weston
Yeah.
responsible for fill dirt and
Yeah.
final rake and seeding.
Yeah, we took that responsibility on, which is not what we did on the previous ones, but looking at the house structure, it's largely on piers. We think we can level it off with and kind of cut that markup out, and we'll do that ourselves best we can.
I want to thank you, Mr. City Manager. I called him today. I didn't see the trees down yet. And Darby as well. We got to work on it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was an hour or so later. and they were there.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for that.
You've got the magic touch.
I was actually meeting with you.
Yeah, it's a contractor game, right? I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but they get there when they can get there a lot of times, and we're, for lack of a better word, we're beholden to them in a sense, right? And so they showed up, and we've been pleased with them.
Where are we at in
And
terms
Mike,
of the owner of this house?
We served them and we have not heard anything back from them. So
We did our part.
I think that's all we can do.
That property is under tax sale, right? So, I mean, we'll get done, we'll throw a lien on it, but somebody could walk in and buy it off the tax sale market and probably clear out all of our liens from what we understand. So that's just the place we're at with it. I guess we could I think we could technically buy it for tax sale if you guys are interested in owning it, but it's something to consider, I guess. Yeah.
There a motion to approve one of the bids? Your preference?
Definitely don't want to wait another 10 days. And we done proved that it was a safety hazard, so I'd be kind of contradicting myself if I had to wait.
Fresh coat, wasn't it?
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Is it okay? And I'm all about getting it down. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about getting it down.
Are you ready, Herb?
I'm all about getting it down, but then I see here this Ron Hamrick or whatever.
Uh-huh.
City of Weston has to supply the field dirt and haul it and everything like that. So that involve, oh, he's hauling it. Okay, but we just got to get the dirt. Okay. Then if I look at some of these others and just telling you, some of these others says they'll reclaim it and seed it and everything in their bids. So I'm just pointing that out there to you. It's up to you all, but I don't know where we're going to get a dirt at, but
Is the Ron Hamrick, is he the fresh coat guy? Okay. He probably did that because he doesn't feel like he has time because he's working on the Columbia Club.
Okay, council, what's your pleasure?
Herb's word. I'm going to defer to Herb.
That's the two we have.
Yes.
Should be three in there.
Is there?
It's cheaper than both of those.
I see
$200.
$12.50, Jay Rafferty
Oh, okay.
and Ron Hamrick.
Is that moonlight?
Yeah.
contract?
Okay, I don't see it, but I've got my papers all in the jumble.
Just
I'm sure you
clarify,
put it in there. I'm
is it
sure.
capable of getting this work done, these guys?
I think so. I mean, they're already mobilized on site and they've got equipment there. He's wanting to take some of the materials and divert them from the landfill. He's already got plans for that. So they've shown they're capable. I won't say they're the most delicate demolition experts I've ever seen, but they do get things down. So I think I don't have any legal reason to say don't do it. And I think we've got the quotes. If for some reason this doesn't work out, we'll be behind 10 days and we'll award it to another contractor and move forward. But
You don't seem real confident. What do you suggest? What do you want?
I think you award it to Fresh Coat LLC and see what happens. I think.
All right. I'm following our city manager's recommendations to go
The
with fresh
city
coat.
Manager recommends
Yeah.
going with fresh coat. I think it's good because they're already there.
Okay, I moved for Fresh Coat LLC to do the demo work, including the removal of the residents of 218 4th Street
For the amount of,
for the amount of $12,500.
okay, is there
Okay.
a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Bowen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gump?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, motion carries. Next, we have it looks like 2 quotes for city building window
There it
tint.
is. I found it, Judy. It was right there in my other
One
hand.
is from Rob's Tinting and Detail for $3,784. And the other one is from Christie Kerwood. And that is for $3,527.28. And that is for 44 window panes. totaling 440.91 square feet.
So what we're putting before you tonight is that we priced some blinds for these new windows, and the blinds are pretty expensive for large windows like that.
Sure.
So the idea was floated that we just tint the windows. That would kind of keep us from having curtains that were closed on the upstairs and things of that nature. Maybe the aesthetics would be a little bit better. And I think that some of the tints on the market right now, and the ones that were presented to us, provide the HVAC efficiencies and things like that to help out with your heating and cooling costs. So I think from our standpoint, we're kind of teeing this up to council and saying, is this something, are you guys comfortable with us just tinting the windows and not having curtains and things like that on the upper floors of the city building? I think we're fine with it. From a cleaning aspect, we're really fine with it. We don't want to have to vacuum the blinds and all that good stuff to keep them clean. But again, this is, I think yeah, we're roughly equivalent. You know, I think when we, like I said, when we got down to it, you can find anything on the internet, right? You can find any price you want to find for the most part. Yeah, looking at quality and stuff like that, it's hard to make that determination. But that's a lot. There's a lot of windows up there. There was $3,000 plus worth of cheap blinds up there that we found.
And the windows were so long that then you got into more money.
Right.
Special, yeah.
You order that tip? I mean, did you request that tip?
I think we're all sitting there watching the calendar flip by and saying this place is going to be really hot unless we get something up. Yeah.
And she brought some and tried it out because I was the one who complained. And because there was a glare on my computer. And so she brought some and just took a piece and put it up there. And it did help a lot. And she said that it should make it 15 degrees cooler in the summertime. I've waited a long time to get these windows that I can see out without plastic and your papers don't blow off your desk because the wind's coming in. And I just personally, I like the idea of being able to look out.
Without being blocked by blinds. Right?
Yeah, and then those blinds and curtains get dirty pretty easy. And she told us how to clean these windows if we do go with the tint. The chemical stuff is you sell at Walmart. So, and she said should last us between 15 and 20 years if we don't bang against them. And so.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Aesthetically, of course. I think those windows are absolutely gorgeous. I do, from the outside and also from the inside.
Mhm.
I also value your opinion. So do you think that it would be, well, aesthetically from the outside of the building and the inside of the building, you're okay with not having any blinds then? You would rather not have the blinds
Personally, I would.
and open and shut. Okay.
Yeah.
So the tent that I haven't seen the tent. I haven't seen newer tent. I've only seen the old timey
I
mirror
hadn't-
stuff that really doesn't look,
Right.
you know, aesthetically pleasing. So
I had never seen the tent like
Like
neither.
this?
And she came and like I said, after she put it up, and then Kim had recommended her because she said that they had it done at Senior Citizens.
We
Uh-huh.
just had it done.
did you? Are you pleased with that?
Very much so. I couldn't even tell where there was tent. It
Just makes
looks
the
That
window
was
dark.
good.
Yeah.
I think with the height of the building, the height of the windows, and then the screens, the dark screens it's on, and then the windows, you know, on those black out curtains.
Yeah.
When you're looking up at that angle and having tint in the screen.
And we actually had the windows up this past week. when
So
it
they
was
would
warm.
still be functional
Yes.
without the blinds.
Yeah. Anything but those curtains that were up. So
So you like that look without the curtains or blinds?
I personally do.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not the only one up there. What do you guys think?
Not up there much.
I know, you're not.
I've got to work so hard. My head's down at my desk all day.
Are you not going to do the downstairs too? Just upstairs?
Just two.
Only in the conference room where we're getting bronze.
We're only asking for tent for the top at this point, for the top of the building.
And if you honestly know, it's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
go with the blinds.
I'm just wondering how that would look. Is it, because I can't picture it in my mind. Is it going to look different? Odd?
We've got that temporary piece of tent up here if you guys want to come take a look and.
Oh, I'm okay with,
We've
the
still gotta
tent.
get-
I'm just wondering if the bottom doesn't need it too. No? What's your reason?
Well,
We
it's,
have different type of windows. We're not getting new windows. We're going with the windows we have. And then up at the top of them, you have the pane windows.
Yeah.
They're modern.
and you have an awning over the front part of that too.
That's true. And so you can't. Okay. So we're not getting new windows downstairs?
I just think that we need something. whether it's
Sure.
Blinds or.
Sure.
And like I said, if you're not okay with it, yeah, I mean.
I could move that we purchase the tent. With the windows on the second floor of the city building. for the amount of $3,700.
I think did you intend to award that to Rob's Tenting or
Oh,
Christy Kerwood?
Honestly, I think I can just purchase it under $5,000. I just wanted to make sure you guys were okay with this,
well, it's
with
nice
tinting
of
the
you
windows.
to bring it to our
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and approve it though.
Okay.
I don't think. Yeah, it's the, action.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying, and I think that if I remember right, the quote was, we didn't have all the windows that we were going to install, right? There was a couple windows we'd left out on the top. And so that number is going to change. So I didn't want you to get to a situation where like you approve $3,700 ends up being
Right.
more or less, right?
Oh,
So
here it is.
So do you want to?
There's one from-
Motion?
Hey, Nate,
sure.
so your recommendation was Raven or Christie Kirkland?
Yeah, I think she's the lowest one. I
She's the
think. Yeah.
lower estimate.
She's the one that gave us the trial piece.
Exactly.
It's KAR
Right.
Pro
You
Tent
just-
Shop.
Award it. Yeah. Just move to award it to them and
I moved to award the job to KAR Tent Shop to tint the second floor windows at the city building and the amount of $3,527.28.
Plus costs for the additional 2 windows.
Yeah.
Cost for the additional two
What's that?
Works for me.
and all others at the city received.
Thank you.
I
Is
thought-
there-
I think he said everybody but Susan.
Is there a
Oh, my
second
God.
to that motion?
I'll second it
Okay, it's been moved in second.
Thank
Any
you, Susie.
discussion?
for checking it out.
Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Rogers?
Yes.
Councilman Bowen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gump?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Motion carries. Okay, next discussion, providing roll-off dumpster for property cleanup service code violations. That's a mouthful.
Okay, so the idea behind this is, whenever we go and talk to these people that's got a bunch of trash piled up and we tell them they need to get it cleaned up. The number one thing we hear is, I don't have a truck, or I can only fit so much in the back of my car and whatnot. So the idea is, we've got the stow and go, or the stow and, is that what the?
Switch and go.
Switch and go. The switch and go has got the roll-off dumpster that we've got down at the street department. And we had thought that, whenever they do, if you do go and they've got the trash piled up and we was gonna write them a violation, rather than them getting a violation, they could pay, to cover the cost of us bringing that down there, and we'd bring it down and they would be the ones loading it up. And then we'd haul it to the dump to get rid of that trash, to be able to clean it up, versus having to do a corrective order and going on the 20 days waiting, and then we end up cleaning it up ourselves. And then also, we didn't know, about maybe just offering it as a service. Gonna have to see the legalities behind all that, but we want to just come to you guys and kind of get your ideas or get your thoughts on the whole idea and see if it's something you're interested in or not.
Anytime we can get the community involved.
Oh, definitely.
Show that we're going to try to help instead of.
Sure.
or whatever.
I
Yeah.
think that's a great solution. Yep.
That was a common concern. I remember when we first took office and people were being asked to clean up their properties. They didn't have access to a dumpster, couldn't afford. So, yeah.
I think it's a great solution.
Like Mr. Darby mentioned, I think there's probably going to be some legalities involved in this, unfortunately. And so we'll do some further research. I guess I'm a little bit concerned if we start offering a roll-off dumpster service, do we get some private sector pressure to say, hey, you're impeding on our territory? And then I'm just worst case scenario. And do we get a complaint to the Public Service Commission? Because I think they regulate some of those activities. So we want to do a little bit background research on that, but we wanted to approach you, like you said, to get your thoughts on it, make sure you were fine with us kind of pursuing this.
Sure.
Give you a little bit of background on what we're trying to accomplish there. And like the mayor spoke to, I think we've got the spring cleanup coming up this month, but we've seen a lot of feedback on Facebook, right? You're not accepting this, you're not accepting that, blah, blah, blah. And warranted, right? Some of those comments, I understand the frustration there. And maybe it's something, where we say the first Saturday, we're going to pick up masonry at someplace, we'll have a roll off dumpster or whatever material. So we want to kind of explore those kinds of opportunities as well through this research that we'll do through the PSC and see what that takes us or takes from us to get that off the ground. But
Sounds good.
I mean, even with the cleanup, even if we would just have a place at the city building, a dumpster there, just to put the metal in, then you could take it to Jerry's house. And
Right.
make money off of it.
Right. And we get a lot. Yeah, I won't say we get a lot, but there are people who call in and say, I'm infirmed or I can't get out of my home. I've got appliances I need to get rid of. There is scrap value in those kinds of things. I don't know how far down the road we want to get into that, but we do have able-bodied people that work at the city. That's something we may be able to get into some kind of arrangement where we can help citizens out and residents like that.
'Cause I remember when they used to have it and stuff would be piled this high out in front of people's houses. And people be going through that.
Yeah,
getting stuff
looking
out.
valuables and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yep.
But
So,
however, we didn't just set those rules. It's set by, it's the trash company, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
the
know, I'm
trash
just
company that sets the rules. So
Right.
I know people get upset on social media. They're upset with our staff and our council, but that's beyond our control. I mean, it's dictated by Mountain State Waste.
That's what I'm saying. If we had,
Metaphil.
if we would rent a dumpster of our own where they could
Right.
put metal scraps to.
sure. But I've been in part of communities where you have a city recycling center or refuse center, right? Where you can come bring your old masonry blocks and throw them on a pile. You can bring your scrap metal and throw it on a pile. And then the city at some point, when that pile gets big enough, they come in and crush the masonry blocks and turn it into fill, or they haul off the metal to the scrap yard and things of that nature. So those are the kind of, I think with the Deanville property we have with the old treatment plant, we've started storing some masonry materials down there. That may be an opportunity for us. So we're going to look into this a little bit further, as long as you guys are fine supporting in that. We didn't want to get too far down this and find out there was not a desire from council to proceed in this direction. So that's all we want to discuss tonight, I think, at this point, right?
Andrea, I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to city council reports. I've got a couple of things. I signed the statement for Region 7 Planning and Development Council as a potential participant in their hazard mitigation assistance program. I guess this warrants FEMA approval. And so during the implementation of this planning process, the city of Weston would actively participate in that process. It's voluntary, and our participation helps benefit the city of Weston in identifying hazards. And I guess to go along with that, the LEPC committee, they met recently and they're working on that, their their plan that they have to do for potential hazards in the community. So I'll be sure to bring that to your attention whenever that's completed. So I've got that original to give to you all for filing. And then I had a visit today from the Painters Union, and they're having a coating and corrosion expo on April the 6th, which is Wednesday. And it goes from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And everyone is invited to come. It's free admission, free classes, free lunch. They're having classes on corrosion basics, fireproofing, bridge assessment and inspections, floor coatings, door prizes. And I think they just really want to show off the facility. They haven't been able to open up or offer any classes during COVID. And they're hoping that as many people in the community as that are interested will come and attend that day. And he stressed again and again to invite everyone that you come in contact with to this expo. And again, it's Wednesday, April the 6th, and it goes from 8 to 2:30. And again, lunch is available and it's free, and he's hoping to see us there. So
I think you guys are planning on one, aren't you?
We have 7 of them down there tomorrow. Or Wednesday, I'm sorry.
And finally, I just want to say, I was in a meeting this evening and someone whom I really respect a lot was talking about the wonderful work that's being done by this city council and this administrative staff, and how things were really professional and moving forward. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm proud of all of you for really doing your jobs superiorly.
Thank you.
So thank you. Ward 1.
First of all, I want to thank our city staff and the entire team, the street department, those who are not here tonight. Please relay that to them. I've had a lot of positive compliments and comments about the progress and the work that is being done. I also want to thank our police and fire departments. You know, in our office, there's a scanner. It goes off constantly. You guys are very, very busy always. And we appreciate you. Lastly, just to the rest of the staff, just want to thank you for everything that you do, keeping everything moving very, very smoothly. And we appreciate you. Thanks.
Ward 2.
As driving around town, I've noticed every corner you go around, every street you drive down, there's activity now. And it's tearing things down, putting things back, and actually putting them back the way they should be put back. So I think it's starting to reflect, and I think it's starting to carry over into the population. And like I said, that alley, something you should go look at. I don't get too excited about alleys, but that one's nice. I like it. Thank you.
Ward 3.
I would like to echo Councilwoman Rogers on our staff, our employees, those who are here, those who aren't here. I appreciate the work that you are doing to move Weston forward. I like the sounds of the collaboration I'm hearing, the collaboration between the city and the state, between the city and the sanitary board. I think, there's no I in team. And it takes us all. And we know we've been in this community for a long time. And we know that there's been a lot of neglect over the years. And we know it's going to take more than just us 5 sitting here our term to move things forward. But I do think we do have a start on that. I want to appreciate the street department working down in Hillville, taking care of that situation down there. I appreciate the code enforcement working in Council Curtis to get that imminent danger house down. And I think there's going to be a lot of people very happy when that thing goes down. And I will rest easier at night knowing that it's not gonna hurt somebody. Because if it would hurt somebody, I couldn't sleep at night knowing that we did nothing to that. I appreciate Mr. Bailey, your work on all that. Police department, appreciate, I saw a lot of violations here. A lot of people appreciate that. People are seeing you in the community. Our administrative assistants and clerk, appreciate you guys. Sanitary department, fire department. I talked to Jimmy earlier today. I also want to say that the fire department is having an elimination dinner as well, the volunteers on Saturday. I'm not sure if there's any tickets still available for that. I think it was ticket 104 will be the winner. That's my ticket. But again, we're moving forward and I appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Is that it?
I'd just like to say that I agree with the citizen that whoever it was that spoke with the mayor. About the city. My wife and I went out to dinner yesterday evening and drove up to Main Street. I liked
Your turn to cook.
Yeah, and we were just driving through town and stuff on Main Street, down a couple of the streets. I've lived here all my life, and you could tell the difference from where the streets we've had in here just cleaning the curbs, even if it's been a while now, where they was built up to signs being pulled over, and just old houses, and you could just drive and tell that it's changed tremendously in a good way, and I really think we should get involved, and again, not just with the council, but our city administration, all the employees, what all you guys are doing. It's if you just slow down and take a good look at things that hasn't been done for a long time. And I think we all get caught up and we're just in a hurry every day, want more and more done. But we don't appreciate what's been done, and I'm guilty of that myself, so.
No.
Yes,
You're man enough to do
That's right, but yes, I'm thankful and appreciative of everything that's being done, all of you.
I got a question. I have a question. We had, I know that in the championship game.
9:20.
Do we have the spring banners? We used to have banners that had the nice lilies or something on them. Do we have those that we can have? Put
There
up?
is some banners over. I don't know for sure what we have over there, but we need to make sure that they are the right size that with these military banners we're putting up, because you know there's one on each side. Okay, so we just need to make sure we have something that size. If not, then I can leave one fold there for a spring banner. I have no problem with that.
I just think right now that would really add a lot to the town too.
Well, we do have those ones for Weston. You know,
They're purchased.
the logo, remember the one?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So we do have those, but they're not spring flowers, nothing like that. but the
I mean, we
colors-
used to have, you guys know which ones I'm talking about?
Mhm.
We'll see what's over there.
They would be the same size as the Christmas ones, I think.
We'll look and see what's over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe you think. City manager, there's mesh signs, the metal ones that Mr. Burke redone.
Okay.
That we spoke about back on the outer city
Mhm.
limits. It's nice to get those signs back up. We discussed that in our thing. That was pretty good while back.
I think that project's been punted back and forth, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Lewis County or the Blueprint communities involved now.
I believe they are.
Yeah, so I'll keep working with the other groups to see if we can get it put together. And no, but they've been blank since I've been back since last January. I think it's time to do it, but I don't know who owns them. Do we own them? Does the city own them? I mean, I don't want to impede on people's territory and all that stuff.
Then Ashley Montgomery.
She did, but then it came back to Anna and
Council.
Victoria is the,
Just about the, sorry.
The entry signs,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so, so here's where we are. There's a large number of people who requested to be on the sign, around 20. And we're confirming with the Department of Highways what the permit allows us to do. So from my understanding right now, the permit will allow us to put back signs similar to what was there before. The problem is before they were a bunch of different sizes and even different shapes. That's no longer allowed. So whatever size we end up going with, and we're confirming with them, since the ones we took off before, there's no way to match it, right? They're all different sizes.
Right.
We're confirming with them if there's an appropriate size for us to move forward with. And then from there, we're going to see how many signs actually fit on there. And then see if all 20 people who have requested to be on there, how that's going to shake out. Additionally, I wasn't here at the very beginning of it, but it was my understanding that at first it was a paid thing. And then there was a donor for the metal, so then it became a free thing. Well, now that donor is no longer there because the type of metal that we have to use is different than what they can supply. So that's the other thing we're confirming, the type of metal that's needed. And so it may have to go back to being a paid situation, which people were fine with, I believe, from what I hear, people were happy to pay. What we do still have secured is a local business who is willing to print those for free. So they're doing that, the finishing of it for free, and the people who want to be on there may end up having to purchase the metal. Again, I think that was the original idea before the donor came forward, but now that donation has gone away. It fell through. So we're confirming, just to recap, we're confirming with COH the size that needs to be on there, and if there's a specific type of metal that's needed. And from there, we'll finalize how many can actually go on the sign, and we may need to address the sticky wicket of, okay, there's 20, not all 20 can make it. Who was first? What's the equitable way to decide who gets on there? For sure, whoever was on there to begin with, when that came down, they're going back 100%. But I think there's a line after that, people who are still interested of going up on the sign. And that can't be expanded, it can't be added on to. I'll never say no. It's just, that would be a whole other process, a whole other animal, right? But the process that we're in now, we need to figure out what size, how many, and who gets assigned. And I just spoke with Anna about that today. So that's positive.
Okay. Thank you, Victoria.
One more thing to add to that, I did find those signs. They're over to the street department.
The old ones?
Yes. All those signs is on there. I did sign
This is
them.
something maybe written on the fall.
Did you find a stage? Did you find a stage?
Oh, is it?
A lot of people come in.
Yeah.
Like places I'm a member of, like the Lodge.
Mhm.
Sonic on Main Street, and they travel in from Ohio, Virginia, Florida. We have guys come here from all over. It just, it's very informational, the signs. They always have been as far as nonprofits and just everything that's up there. I think a lot of people depended on it.
Okay. We'll do our part, try to get them up as quick as we can.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, can I request a quick personnel executive session to give you some quick updates on some things?
Oh,
5
sure.
minutes.
I move we get into executive session. Discuss personnel.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Recess is getting ready to start.
Feel better? I'm gonna stay away from you. I don't know what to have, but I'm gonna stay away from you. Oh, was it? I was coming back from Amish country for that too. Would feel me good? No, it was under the way. That's why.
That's all. I had one.
Yeah, I checked that. He's got like bed and,
Probably
TV
your daughter.
and
he's supposedly,
2 hours.
he's checking with
Probably your daughter
the
don't.
sanitation department, see about getting the sewer.
Probably our extra.
Did you?
Yeah, at UHC.
Yeah.
So you have, I know the woman from. Anyway, she has a couple of. How many people have?
No idea. Whatever it is.
Yeah. that's- I know.
Here's the deal.
Yeah, well.
Hey.
Deal.
Yeah. could be accurate. Their roofs are more, I don't know what it looked like before.
They're about the same, they're about the same size. But I don't like to say, I don't know how many of this I have, but I found four, because everybody.
Part of the side, I don't think it's confirmed. What they care, they're all triangles, half of them are squares. I don't know why that even matters in the law. That's bonkers to me.
Too short.
Whatever. It's filling up the sign anyway, so we'll be curious to see these sizes, and it's confirming with them. This guy, but I'll be curious to see these sizes.
I think tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't.
Thursday, I got the right. See what we got. How we're really busy tomorrow. Contact tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not, myself. Just so you can get a general idea of what the size of them is. I don't know, I think the one that some of the ones that the woman had, even some of the round ones, they check the round ones were like maybe.
Well, Lions Club.
Yeah.
Okay. Not, I think that's something the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll.
He doesn't answer. Okay.
It might be the first of the week too.
You can't go back there, settle me. You can't go back where that is.
Yep, okay. What's your fingers?
Fancy shoes though, girl.
Well, they're
For fancy shoes.
yes, they are.
That's
Look at it.
That's it. If I'm swimming with manatees.
So tell me why state would care about these signs, like there can only be so many of this size.
To me, it's like, okay, we have the canvas there. I understand that like we can't add on to it, we can't add wheels, whatever, side.
But inside of it.
We can't hang stuff under it, but it's like, that side's already there. So if I wanna
But
put
I don't understand that either. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, what are they gonna do about rotary? Rotary, right?
Super, like the most arbitrary thing, no, and I guess he was very adamant, she's double checking some stuff, she said, no, last time, she was very adamant, they all have to be the same size. Like, who cares, it's gonna be covered with size, whether they're all square, big, or medium, or small.
That's just boiled down to somebody higher up. wants it.
Yeah.
That's state bill.
And I think they were big on that because they said people, other people have backgrounds.
State one of the dilapidated things that we commit.
They're not
You know
allowed
what,
to
no
do
one
that.
can see to find it.
So when you get your
Yeah,
permit
so
to
I'm-
replace them, which they did, that's
No way to find it. It's a no-go. It's not tax sale.
very happy.
Oh, I know, it's a tax, it was a tax sale. Without looking, from dilapidated. So it could find, could find. It's out, so finally I figured it out.
Yeah, it's green.
But it's 552, it did pass, but it's under tax, dilapidated tax. Yeah,
You see better vision, right? Especially when I take effect.
$30 million. Talking about it.
That's a million.
Huh?
They give us a million. I don't know about that.
Yeah. They give us $1 million. Ooh. That's Wall Street. Was it bulldozer?
Yeah.
Did you not? Give me 30 seconds, to get out.
As we answer that, we always answer that.
Yeah.
Hope we wouldn't get killed.
I think you probably are.
Oh, well.
Do they cause this?
It's like one of them windows you can't see through. They're back there making fun of us.
They probably back in the executive session, they're probably watching it from that.
Yeah.
What are you guys going to Disney?
Next year, maybe.
Head out and see what the name is. It was pretty fun.
Was it?
They're huge. Like I knew they were big. I didn't expect them to be that big. They're swimming along and then all of a sudden giant animal, just.
I've been in my bass boat down there before and had one swim beside me.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big.
Crazy, they just have this big mouth and they just move up and around like they just eat and eat and eat. and
Are
eat.
you swimming out in the wild with them?
Yeah.
That's all. See any alligators while you swimming with them?
No, dude.
What else you do?
What else? do
They said there's a code enforcement job down there in Sanibel Island.
Yeah, I just said that. I told them to take it. Or to apply at least. I don't know that we live very well in that salary in Sanibel, but we have the beach. and
Yeah, what else do you
I
need?
know.
You don't need to live. I mean, you can walk everywhere you need to go, right?
We live in a shack. Let's see, there was a couple state parks we went to. One had like a little zoo thing that was nice for her. Did quite a few beaches. We tried to go out to a key one day, but that Gary got canceled because the weather was choppy. Like the water was pretty choppy. So spring, summer, fall. Kind of fun in and out. Kind of going from one to another. Venice Beach. I didn't know there was a Venice in Florida, but apparently there is. Yeah, that area is known for you can look for shark teeth. There's tons of fossilized shark
Found
teeth.
them?
Yeah, yeah. It was a lot of fun. They sell these screens. Kind of. The sand and squeeze it out.
I just wanted to know.
Oh, I know. I didn't want to egg him on. All right. Okay, is there a motion to exit executive session? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.